4 o'clock tram for today. Thanks for visiting us this afternoon for our 40th annual Orchid and Bromeliad show. It was a great day here at the garden. Hope you have enjoyed yourself so far. We are going to go take a narrated tour around the back 50 acres of the gardens. That is the area not found on the walking map, which just covers the first 10 acres. For your safety, please remain seated at all times. Keep your arms, legs, elbows, knees, and toes inside the tram. The road is quite bumpy and rugged back there, so keep an eye on your personal items. And if anything does fall, give me a wave and a holler. We'll stop and retrieve it. Relax and enjoy. Everybody ready? Go. Let's do it. Now we're going to start right here on the driver's side. These plants that you see are banana plants. They are not trees, even though they're taller than trees. Or wood, they have a stalk of compressed leaves. They can take up to 2 years for the fruit to be ready. 1.5 and 2 years, depending on the variety of the banana. And you can see this tallest one at the end with fruit on it. That's how the fruit grows there above that purple flower or heart. We have staghorn ferns here in the hanging baskets on either side of the tram. Staghorn ferns, named for their antler-like shape. Those are one type of air plant that we have here. We also have this resurrection fern that covers a lot of the trunk and branches of these oak trees. It is called resurrection fern because it looks brown and dry and not so hot right now. It can survive long droughts though, and when it does rain, it opens up and turns bright green. Here on the driver's side, we have a V-shaped tree with large yellow-green fruit, about 50 feet off the road. That is our jackfruit tree. It's the largest fruit that grows on the tree. It could be 60 to 80 pounds when it is ripe. It does make a tasty meat alternative. We have over 3,000 different kinds of plants and trees here in the gardens. Thanks to Mr. Ray, being an avid botanist and importing all sorts of seeds and plants from around the world. This one on the passenger side, we call pods, is one of my favorites. That is where the main ingredient for chocolate comes from. It's the cacao or chocolate tree, and those pods are cocoa beans that do not look or taste much like chocolate in their raw form, but they go through a process pretty similar to coffee of being dried, roasted, and ground, and other ingredients, and voila. Those cocoa beans were used as a form of currency or money by the Aztecs, who were the first to cultivate them a couple thousand years ago. We have plantain plants that we passed, and lobster claw heliconia there on the passenger side with those red blooms. Both related to the banana plant, but heliconia does not produce an edible fruit. Popular tropical plant though, with those great and fabulous blooms. We'll see another one up here in our little mini tropical rainforest. It's our closest impression, at least, as we don't have a tropical climate, but we have the upper story or the forest floor level with a lot of large leaf plants because very little sunlight makes it down to the rainforest floor or understory. On the passenger side, you'll see elephant ears plants and a Swiss cheese plant, or Monstera deliciosa, with the holes in the leaves that allow the sun and rain to get through and get shared. Here's candy corn heliconia on the driver's side. Those candy corn-like colors and with climbing vines called cocos with larger leaves as they get higher up. Small but mighty, our rainforests cover just 6% of the world's surface, but are responsible for half of our oxygen, giving them the lungs of the earth and home to about 2/3 of all plant and animal species on the planet. Now this area island was part of the Everglades just over 100 years ago, before the government drained the swamp in the 1920s, and people like Floyd and Jane Ray came and pioneered this area. It was a swamp, and back at that time, this little hill we're coming up was an island called a hardwood hammock. There was a whole string of little islands like this. It's just a few feet of elevation, but that's enough because the swamp is super flat. This is actually the highest elevation around, and it's the only land above sea level, so this would have been dry land even in the rain. Swamp floods. These islands were an important habitat for all sorts of wildlife, and they were inhabited by the Sequestria tribe of Native Americans who called them Pamacas and built villages on islands like this. This also represents our wild and primitive Florida, as it has been preserved in its original form, intact with native plants and trees, as was the wish of Mrs. Jane Ray. She thought it was important to keep part of it as it was found, so that visitors today and tomorrow can see our hardwood hammock and see what it looks like. Here's our back lake, which we call Flamingo Lake, of course. We do have a brand new pair of swans out here, so we may have to change the name. But this is a man-made or mitigated wetland made to replace or elsewhere here in the town of Davie. We do that because of how important wetlands are for wildlife, especially migrating birds. And actually, the first swan of the pair, the male, LaCroix, was migrating about a month ago. He stopped out here to rest and has been here ever since. I guess he liked it. The female, Francesca, was just donated last week by a person that could not keep her anymore. And they have taken a liking to each other, and we're very happy to have a pair of mute swans here. You'll see an iguana there next to the water, doing a little dance. And cold-blooded animals like them, and snakes, alligators,
look, iguana,
and turtles. They spend a lot of their day sunbathing, soaking up the rays and kind of charging up. It's good work if you can get it. And they'll be more active as the sun starts going down. In the water are bonnet lilies, also known as spatterdock lilies, which are a sign of a healthy ecosystem. They filter the water out with their roots and provide a nursery for fish. There's a turtle on the palm sticking out of the water. The area around these lilies is the cleanest water in the lake, and that's where you'll see the fish or the birds drinking from. Here's another little turtle. Those small white birds that you see throughout the garden are ibis, American white ibis, also known as the hurricane birds. They indicate the weather by being the last birds to fly up before a big storm and the first to return afterwards. Also the mascot of the University of Miami Hurricanes. Here we have some Muscovy ducks with their black iridescent feathers and red warts on their face. They are very common around here, but actually held in Mexico originally. You'll notice they are nice and quiet. They don't quack. They communicate by bobbing their head and shaking their tail feathers. You'll hear some sounds out here. There's an interesting sound installation, which is part of our Orchid Festival. You can read more about it out here and check it out if you're interested. Basically, they've taken the DNA sequences of 7 native orchids and created soundscapes with those sequences. Pretty interesting. That's what you're hearing. Just beyond that is our bald cypress swamp. These are bald cypress trees. Those monster stumps on the ground are the trees. Just like we have. So they're these cypress trees. Each of them has up to 18 of them, and they help to keep the trees standing, much like our
wetland with the plants growing in it.
Swamp here, where their roots are in the mud, they're underwater, which is not very sturdy. Those need help anchor them to the ground. They also help to prevent floods by soaking up extra water. We have Everglades fan palms out here on the other side with barbs and spikes and their fronds. This on the top is our mango grove. Mango is the most consumed fruit in the world, known as the king of fruit. It's native to India, and there are over 1,000 different kinds of mangoes. We have a dozen of those right here. We do harvest and sell them in the mango season, which is going to be starting soon, spring, early summer. There's some bonus horses going for a walk on the passenger side. The nearby horse riding place. On the driver's side, those white and blue containers are bee boxes. They're man-made beehives. Help support our most important pollinators, the bees, who are essential for biodiversity. They pollinate the majority of all the food crops that we eat. And we love our pollinators here at Flamingo Gardens. We couldn't grow fruit or much of anything without them. We do sell that fruit, by the way, when we have it available up front at guest services. There's a brand new garden taking shape on the passenger side. This is our cactus and succulent garden. The first tree without any leaves is a succulent. It's called a baobab tree. Native to Madagascar, it stores water in its trunk all through the dry season and is known as the tree of life or the upside down tree. That bright pink flower almost matches those little flags out there. That is the desert rose, and that is a succulent. It blooms in the dry season, which is. We have our American wildflower garden, main hotspot for butterflies who are attracted to those brightly colored flowers, as well as the nectar that they contain, which is their main source of food. We say butterflies are solar powered. They are only active when it's pretty hot and sunny. They even have scales on their wings that kind of bounce the sunlight back onto their bodies, keeping them warm and energized. And here you can see different phases of their life cycle in our butterfly nursery project from our education team, where they do propagate a few different kinds of butterflies, keep them safe from predators until they are through their metamorphosis, and then they'll be released out into the garden. And they use that as a teaching tool with some of our school groups that come for field trips, and then the kids even get to participate in the butterfly releases. Up here on the passenger side, there's a tree with just 2 pink blooms left at the very end of the season for the shaving brush tree. The rest of these plants are called cycads, and they are very old and very rare, having survived since the age of dinosaurs hundreds of millions of years ago. Cycads have barely changed in that time, making them just like living fossils. They were actually a source of food for plant-eating dinosaurs, and especially the seed cones that they produce. Like the one up on the driver's side, kind of looks like a giant pine cone. That was a nice meal for a vegetarian dinosaur. Up here on the driver's side, this red tree is called Jumbo Limbo. It's a native tree to Florida, but it's affectionately known as the tourist tree for that peeling red bark, and it serves as a good reminder to wear your sunscreen for tourists and locals alike. Here on the passenger side, we have some bamboo plants. That is the fastest growing plant in the world. It can grow up to 3 feet in a single day. And bamboo is actually a member of the grass family. Another pothos on the passenger side with a little fern island. A tall green reed with a poof at the top of it. That is papyrus. Used back in ancient Egypt to make the very first papyrus paper. Here on the driver's side, we have a few Egyptian geese standing right next to this Arabica coffee plant with little black berries. The rest of this little area on the driver's side is another hardwood hammock, and It's actually considered a mountain around here. All things are really relative, and here in Broward County, this is the second highest point. Believe it or not, it's called Mount Flamingo. It stands at a modest 6.5 feet above sea level. Not much of a climb up to the summit of Mount Flamingo, but what is really cool about it was an island when the rest of the property was underwater, and we have found the quest of artifacts here, including a canoe, some artifacts thousands of years old. There's Spanish moss on those oak trees. That is not Spanish or moss though, it's an air plant native to the Americas. And more of that resurrection fern. Bill's night blooming cereus, that climbing cactus that produces dragon fruit. You see more of our southern live oaks up on the Ray lawn in front of the Ray home as well. Over on the passenger side, there's some rainbow eucalyptus with colorful appealing bark.
Where is
There's more
rainbow?
cycads and
Well,
baobabs.
that's the name of the plant.
And the pair of plants
That's
that look
the
like
name
grape
of the
apple
plant,
are
rainbows?
agaves.
Rainbow
And
eucalyptus.
tequila
Yeah.
for the adults.
Because
The
it's
little trees here
colorful.
on the driver's side are starfruit or carambola. Also do sell that when we have it available. Great big tree on the intersection on the passenger side is a Melaleuca or paper bark tree. Native to Australia, they became invasive and actually are illegal to import or plant, but you'll see them all over. Alrighty, that brings us back to the barbecue house. Please watch your head when you exit the tram. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, everyone. The garden does close at 5 o'clock, so you have a little bit of time if you missed anything. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. And